Welcome to the Poetry of Justice show with JackieRay Phillips on YikesRadio.com and AccelerateRadio.net. Here on the Poetry of Justice show, this is where social consciousness meets the arts. And what we do is we select topics that spark the interest and awareness of social diversity, ranging from arts, entertainment, and social justice at large, leaving our listener thinking and saying,
YikesRadio.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Now, those are the sultry sounds of my mentor, the Mr. Kevin Nash. And Mr. Kevin Nash is the owner of this proprietorship here at Accelerated Radio. And so what I'd love to do, everybody, is give a very special shout out to Kevin Nash, because if it wasn't for Kevin and his dream, it wouldn't allow me to do what I so love to do here on the Poetry of Justice show, ladies and gentlemen. And then next, I'd like to give a very special shout out to our sponsorship, and that is Miss Lori G, aka the Benefactor. How are you tonight, Lori G?
Doing well, thank you.
Lori G, thank you so much for joining us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And then I'd like to give our very, very, very special welcome and sponsorship out tonight to those beautiful and amazing ladies of the chat. How are you ladies tonight, divas?
Excellent, darling.
Good,
Excellent.
thank you.
Darling, thank you so
Darling.
much, ladies of the chat. It's so good to see you here tonight, guys. And then I'm going to go on ahead and give a very special shout out to some more of our sponsorships, and that is to G Baby Catering LLC, ladies and gentlemen. That's G Babies, GBABBIES Catering LLC, ladies and gentlemen. And I want you to reach out to Chef Mac. And you can find Chef Mac on Instagram, everybody. So I want you to take him out. And I know it's COVID, but it's kind of lightening up. But again, check out Chef Mac, ladies and gentlemen. And then I'd like to give a very special shout out to what we call the Man of Steel here on the Poetry of Justice show, ladies and gentlemen. That is WMPJ Steelworks. So we'd like to give a very special shout out to our sponsorships, as well as APS Muscle Cars, ladies and gentlemen. We've got some exciting new things happening there, so you want to reach out to Memo, that's MEMO, at APSMuscleCars.com. So we are here tonight on the Poetry of Justice show with JackieRay Phillips. How are you ladies doing tonight?
You're on mute, Shelly. See?
Wonderful.
Do it tonight, Rashid. You doing good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing well.
All right.
Doing well.
It's Saturday night. It's March 20th, right? 2021. And we have the lovely, talented, and I'm going to be quiet and let Sissy do her thing. I'm just going to hush up because it's Sissy.
Well, tonight, I'm very excited, guys. As always, well, what we're doing is we are celebrating, right, Women's History Month. Of course, the ladies of the chat will do that, being the strong women that we are, right? But I am very excited tonight because I see tonight, for me at least, as a part of a legacy night. I, as most of you know, work for that wonderful university over on the West Side, right? And when I started my journey there 31 years ago as an academic counselor, I had this beautiful young student who was so excited about school and so excited about her journey and being at school. And I had the opportunity to be her academic counselor. And so she has grown and she has developed, and she has recently become an author of not one, but 2 books, all while she has a very important, how do we call it, prestigious position here at the University of Southern California. So she is definitely a part of senior leadership there, but she has managed to also balance all of those things. And way since back when she was getting her undergraduate degree in our psychology department, she's gone on to get her master's degree and certifications. And I just like to think I contributed a little bit of that to that journey. So she's very accomplished, very well spoken, and has always held a very dear place in my heart. So I would like to introduce to you Ms. Monica L. Monica.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's just an honor to be here in this moment in time. And Lori, you are an amazing woman. You have always been my mentor, will always be my mentor. I mean, in just every aspect of life, from the professional to the personal. I just always admired you and Jackie's sisterhood and just how y'all just vibe together, especially being an only child. I was like, if I had a sister, I would want that kind of relationship because it was just unconditional love. And you never had to say it. I could just see it, you know, how you represent it. And just, we were talking about representation. That's so important. I would have never thought that I would have been at that university for 20 years. Like, I can't believe it. And yes, I did complete my undergrad in psychology and my master's in communication management. And today I am here as an author and I am Monica L. And this has definitely been a journey. And I'm just excited to be in this place at this time. So thank you for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, I'd like for you to get a chance to get to know the other ladies of the chat. So I'm going to let each one of them say hello to you, tell you a little bit about themselves, and then we'll induct you into the chat family. How about that? So why
Sounds
don't you
good
get
to
us
me.
kicked off, Shelley C?
Monica, I am Shelly C. I am one of the Fab Four of the chat. We have been friends for a very long time. I want to say 25 plus. I only say that because I only remember our youngest as being 25. Most of our youngest to be 25. 26, we got some going on 30. So we have been friends for a very long time. But to tell you a little bit about myself, I live in Los Angeles and I was born and raised here. And my career of choice was human resources, and I've been in there for about 20 plus years. And I am one of the only, I should say the only, I shouldn't say one of, I am the only single woman of the chat. So I bring the single woman's perspective. We all have been married, and what's a coincidence is that we became friends through our husbands. That's my ex-husband, and then the husbands that they currently have is how we became friends. But our bond has still remained, even though I am divorced and they are still with their husbands. So that's just to give you a little bit of background about me. I'll go ahead and pass the mic to Tanya. Tanya Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. I am Tanya Michelle. We have, we like Shelley said, we've been friends for a long time, and I think the good thing about the perspective from Shelley is she can bring things from all different angles. I mean, sometimes when you're married, you have this tunnel vision about life, unless you've experienced other things, but you have this tunnel vision about life, and so it's really a great show. I have been a nurse for. Um, 27 years. Is it 27 years? I've been a nurse for 27 years. And as you know, was a very rough period that, we've been through the last year. And I love patients. I love nursing. I love people. I love helping people. I think my passion is always for the people. I've always worked in inner city hospitals and I'll probably stay there. I first started off at Cedars-Sinai and I was thinking, oh my God, what is this? I got to kiss somebody's butt because you got a title. This doesn't work for me. So I went to the hood and I still do inner city nursing. I live in Inglewood. Um, I haven't done as much in the community in Inglewood as I want, but I was talking to my husband about that today about starting some community work in Inglewood. And I am the only Black woman on my leadership team in my office suite. So that in itself is a story. So I'm
Thank
sure all of
you.
this will come out. We have more to talk about, but welcome, welcome, welcome,
Thank you. Thank you for
and
sharing, both of you.
enjoy the show. Enjoy the show, because we're going to enjoy you.
And Jackie, do you want to share? I know Monica knows you from our USC days, but I don't think she knows a lot about the Poetess Reigns.
Wow. Well, so the Poetess Reigns is a collection of poetic art. Monica's there's been so many changes, so many changes. I've went through so many different facets since I left USC, but just a little bit of a snippet. maybe there's like two sides. So anyway, I just want to say after I left the university, I did a little bit of work in corporate real estate. And so I learned a lot of different things. And it was a very interesting time working out in Orange County. Some very interesting fellows. Learned a lot, saw a lot, went through a lot. But with that and like some personal kind of stuff I went through a lot emotionally. And so from all of that was the birth of my first book of poetry titled The Poet is Reigns, a collection of poetic art. And so I was able to be blessed to author and publish in 2013. And so from there, spent out just things that God had in store for me. So local community acting, done some plays, and from doing that, I developed a small production company called Gingy Productions, an entertainment company, and that's named after my adorable sister Lori G. Her middle name, I won't tell her full middle name, but the company is still named after her nevertheless. And so in that too. So from there, Lori and I began to produce plays. And then from producing plays and Lori directing and us moving forward from there, God blessed and put me on my heart to do radio. And I had an offer. And from doing that, the Poetry of Justice show was born in August of 2016. And you can't do anything without a village and without family. And so that is what these ladies are to Lori and myself. Latanya Michelle and Miss Shelley C. That is family. And so they have blessed us ever since. And the ladies, all of us together developed the chat. You know what I mean? It was just kind of like all of these different thoughts going around the table one night. And we came up with that. And then from the chat, we just been doing radio now. So we are embarking on our 5th year of that, even struggled through
Unbelievable.
COVID. And it's just been like, whoa. And so we went from a very small radio station to now here in a studio with two, just all kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So that's just been pretty much kind of what we've been doing since the years have passed. So we're going to have a really good time tonight because we're also going to be able to celebrate women and talk about just women overall and just have a really good time. And Lori and I and the ladies at the chat are so happy that you'll be able to talk with us about your work. Still a lady, and you have a good time.
Mhm.
Thank you. I definitely see a lot of commonalities throughout the group. I am single as well. I do reside in Inglewood, and I am used to being the one of one at a table. But I am originally from Cleveland, Ohio, and I came out here when I was 12, my mother and I. And I like to say I still have that Midwest upbringing. But obviously most of my formative years were here in Los Angeles. And I am a product of LA Unified School District. And so the challenges that come with that and going to a 4-year private university. So I just commend everyone. I mean, it's just amazing stories of being in HR. I can only imagine what you've seen and being a nurse. Yeah, we do have a nursing program under our school. So just being on that front line. So I just commend you and giving of yourself in a pandemic where so much uncertainty, and I'm sure you've seen a lot, and just the hours. Yeah. So thank you for your service.
You
Because
know,
yeah,
it's
I can't
funny.
even imagine.
I was out there today running some errands as I seem to do every Saturday. I got to change that program, but it was crowded, and I'm
Mhm.
Stimulus, girl.
oh,
That stimmy has got. I'm even the roads are crowded. That
no,
stimmy has got people stimulated.
something is stimulated, and I was sitting
That's
there,
true.
and I was in
The
traffic
stimmy.
for like 5 minutes, just at a standstill, and I said, "My God, please don't let there be another surge because the healthcare
Mm.
system, we can't handle it. We literally cannot handle it."
Mm.
And so, people will walk around no mask, think because they got
Mhm.
vaccinated that they don't. It's just, I'm like, Jesus help. But we'll
We
see.
have a big outdoor mall here where I live in Neverland, and Eric and I went last night to pick up some food from a restaurant. You have the curbside. This outdoor mall was as if it was Christmas Eve holiday. I mean, it was packed. I could not believe it. No mask, people just everywhere, just like it was like December 20th Christmas shopping. It was unbelievable.
It's that stimmy,
Unbelievable.
girl. That stimmy got the people going, girl. That stimmy got the people going.
Well, while
I
they're
kind
going, we want to see how they can spend some of their money on this lovely book here.
Awesome book. And I want to thank
Still a
you for it.
Lady. Awesome book.
Thank
I think that's a
you.
great transition for us. I got the ladies, as you know, all of you, this as a little Christmas token to get you to get a chance to meet Monica Allen. Plus, I had to support my little mentee here. That was amazing. So I'm interested in knowing what your reactions were. What were your reactions?
To be honest, if I can go back to go forth. So I've always been very passionate about writing, but my goal was always to write a song that would be Grammy nominated. And so I've been doing that for like 20 years, writing lyrics and working with producers, working with singers. And I did have some success, but I think one of the challenges was I feel like I was always critiqued on the singer, the producer, the track, and not what I contributed, which were the words. So I am an ASCAP lyricist. So fast forward, we're in this pandemic, and I did not want to come out unchanged. I wanted to have something positive. And so I was already working on another project, and I just learned a lot about writing and publishing. And so I really gathered all of my poems and all of my work together, and I produced this book, poetry book, Still a Lady, under KDP, which is Amazon's company. And so while I was doing that, I was like, oh, some of these pieces are very telling about me. And, as Lori mentioned, in certain areas, have to put on this facade because that's what expected. And so a part of it, my friend said that you should probably have a journaling section because I wanted to make sure the page count was a certain amount. And so with that being said, I've had overwhelming responses. Actually, I sold more books personally than were sold on Amazon in a pandemic. And so I just was overwhelmed because I didn't know. I just felt like I needed to get it out. I feel like I needed to leave something to this world that would be here beyond me. And I also feel like women needed something, with so much that was going on. So some of the work is a combination of things that I written 20 years ago, and obviously some pieces like 2020 are more relevant to today. And so I'm overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed that people in different countries know about it. I'm overwhelmed by the Amazon reviews. I'm overwhelmed by the random people who reach out to me and say, thank you for this. You gave me encouragement. Because, it took a lot of self work in order for me to even put this out and being as open as I was with especially some of the pieces. So I am beyond excited. And I've learned a lot about publishing, in this process. And I think that, that's probably going to be my next step of teaching others how to do it. I won't say I did it the best way, but I did it the way I knew how. But as I grow, I'm learning how to have my own publishing company and, making this an Audible book. And so I'm just very excited. And, the goal is that I will get the fruits of my labor and that this will be my full-time gig.
All right. Praise God. That's great.
Exciting. Super exciting.
Yeah,
So ladies, yeah, go ahead, Tanya.
Before we get into the book, you said something that struck me. You said, I didn't want to come out of this COVID or this pandemic unchanged. Is that what I don't want to misquote you. Is that what you said?
That was it. Yes, it's perfect.
And it's,
Yes.
and it's funny, and I don't want to, but and I can see the energy behind that book. And now that you said that, it like triggered some type of thought process in me because, One of the things I think a lot of us did during this pandemic is think different, right? Live different, think different. We had to do things that as Americans, we never had to do. And we had to live life in restrictions, right? So that forces you to think things differently. But when you said you didn't want to come out unchanged, can you just explain unchanged in what way?
Yes, definitely. I just felt like I always said I couldn't do this because I have the 9 to 5 and I don't have time to do
Okay.
this. And doing this meaning pursuing my happiness. So now, still gainfully employed, which I'm thankful for, but I have time. It's not the commute time anymore. And I feel like I just made time for me. And so I feel like this provided an opportunity, even though this is devastation, and I'm not saying anything was positive about COVID, because obviously lives were lost, but it provided me with the opportunity to just make the time for myself and produce work that I probably wouldn't have done if my life was quote unquote normal, meaning that, I didn't have to be in the house 24/7. And so I didn't have those limitations anymore, or at least mentally, I didn't have those limitations anymore. And I said this was time, because I feel like we always say we don't have time for things. And so I made time for me.
I
Nice.
love
Thank
that.
you. Thank
I
you.
love that. Shelley, when can you tell us of a time where you've just made time for you? I like that part. We can just go around the panel. When you just made time for you, and is that a difficult thing to do?
First of all, I want to say to Monica, hats off to you because you chose to look at, like you said, there has been some lives lost, but you chose to look at the glass as half full instead of half empty. And I can tell you that life can have you going so much that you don't think about taking time for yourself. And I have to say that there's always a way of looking at something positive and looking at something negative. And I don't want to downplay any of the deaths and the devastation that COVID has or the pandemic has caused, but it has caused me to slow down. And one of the things I would have to say, oh, I don't want to get emotional, but there are a couple of things in my life that have caused me to slow down and think about me and take time for myself. One of them is when I had gotten a divorce, because that was the first time I ever took time out for me. When I got the divorce, I had the time to say, what is it that you really like? What is it that you really want to do? And think about self care. So that was one moment in my life that was a little devastating, I have to admit, when it first happened. And then the pandemic, it actually caused me to reflect and say, when was the last time I ever took some time out for myself? When have I decided to go on the internet and look for a detoxifying hair or scalp thing? Or when have I taken the time to really soak my feet and take in the positive energy, actually enjoy my home? Like, when was the time have I ever even just enjoyed the fact that I'm in my home and my feet are in this tub and I don't have to do a damn thing but drink this bottle, not glass, bottle of wine. So I think that sometimes, even though there's devastation, I think that God has a way of giving or letting, I won't say giving, letting devastation happen or pandemics or trials happen where we take the time to really enjoy what's happening to us, even though it may not be in a positive thing that's happening right now, meaning the pandemic. So I'd have to say that slowing down and taking the time to, again, for the second time in my life, saying, Shelley, what is it that you really like to do? What is it that you really enjoy? Is it today? Do I want to just take a bath, a bubble bath, and drink a glass of wine and do my toes? I can't even tell you the last time I did my toes, but because I don't want to get Rona, I'm doing my toes. So I'm taking the time out for myself. So I just want to say that this is the second time, actually, and I'm ashamed to say that this is the second time in my life that I have taken the time to slow down and smell the roses and enjoy the fruits of my labor, my home, cooking more, being at home, watching TV, watching my favorite TV shows, watching Sanford and Son. Remember in the 70s, like what's happening, all of that. The first time that I've taken the time to slow down. And one of the things that I also like is that when I go to the beach, for once, we're seeing dolphins come closer to the shore, which is probably what they naturally should be doing, because everybody has to take the time to slow down on Earth. So I have to say, this is the second time in my life that I ask myself, what do I really enjoy? Even if it's just sitting on my couch and looking out the window.
I thank you
Okay.
for that. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I'd be careful with those dolphins, though.
Look at them from the shore. Believe me, my girls know I don't do water. I don't do water, but just to see them from a distance jumping through the water, nice for me.
Yeah,
Totally
just
agree.
don't let them get close. Don't let them get close.
Dolphins.
That
I
is
get
very
weak at the
true.
knees. I get weak at the knees. You guys are
Guys,
hard.
I'd like to give Chris a shout out. She has joined us via audio. She's driving, so we're not going to have her turn her video
Sis,
on. Keep those eyes on the road.
we love
But
you,
hey,
sis.
Chris.
Hey,
What's up, girl? How you
Tanya, right quick, I'm
doing?
pulling up at the gas station. I am doing wonderful. I am doing
Jesus
awesome.
is marvelous.
Cool.
Yes, I like that conversation y'all having about that taking that time. You know what I'm
Right
saying?
there.
Because the most
You're-
important in your life, no matter if you're married, if you're single, no matter if you have a boyfriend or whatever the case may be, the most important person is you.
Exactly. And you know what? I 100% agree. And through one of my classes that I take, Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. makes this thing about what you have to think about what do you want to do? How do you want to do it? And why do you want to do it? Or why do you want to do it? And how are you going to go about doing it? And I've been thinking about that the whole week. I've been out this whole week, and I kid you not, I get up late. I just lay in the bed and I said, you know what? Oh, I stretch like, oh, this feels so good. That freedom. So you know what that made me think? You know what? I'm about to start picking that, get my own business, getting out. Because you know what? You ain't free until you got your own shit. I'm sorry. And if you don't, then hey, it's a total different story. When you working for somebody else, when you got to push that 9 to 5, you can't get out when you want to. You got to be there. You got to be on time. I got a whole nother mindset, and it's working, and I'm working on it. So this week for me, that's what I started working on, and I said this is what I want to do. But not just besides doing my music. I just come from the studio, so it's like I'm on somebody else's stuff. So it's like, oh my gosh, you know what? I love this. You know what? I'm about to do this. Anyway, y'all, I'm about to hit the highway again.
Chris,
Well, you be
Listen,
safe,
y'all.
Chris.
Y'all so beautiful.
Ooh,
say,
you
Chris,
are too, Queen. God bless you.
I just want to say this one last thing. You are absolutely right. When you are not working for yourself, I actually got forced into working for myself. I had one doctor that kept asking me over and over again to work for him. In other words, to be a consultant, meaning bill him to do work for him. And I ran from him for a long time. And then it started to trickle. As being a consultant, I ended up having to get my own business license, and it trickled. I had more and more of his colleagues, like other doctors, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute, I didn't ask for all this. But then it was wonderful to work for myself and not have to punch a 9 to 5 for somebody to say, can you do this for me? Well, I can't do it on Thursday, but I'll do it on Monday. Like, it felt good to say, I don't want to take this, or I'm going to take this, or if I'm going to do this, this is the time frame. If you can't work within the time frame, I'm sorry. It felt good to be in control of when I do something as far as work, and it felt great. And then all of a sudden, I found myself in being in the consultant world, working for myself. And I was like, damn, this could work, working for myself, you know, instead of punching a 9 to 5. So I have to say, Chris, I love that comment that when you work for yourself, it's totally different than working for somebody else.
Absolutely.
I love it.
What
Yes.
about those gals? And I know these ones here still, I'm not even going to say what it could be because people might have a different approach. What do you ladies of the chat think about those ladies that still say, you know what, I don't even want to work at all. I just want to sit at home, let somebody take care of me. I don't want to do nothing. I want to be a kept woman. How do you guys feel about women nowadays? Where we are in this, just being 100, is that taking people back? Is that taking womenization back, ladies and gents? And gents and ladies?
I say we start with Monica, since she's our guest here.
Great. Thank you, Lori. Put me on the hot seat so everybody can boo me out. No, I think it's about your freedom. I mean, I'm not going to lie, 20 years of working, shoot, I'm like, yeah, I should have signed up for that program. But, but nothing is free. So I just would say that nothing is
that
free.
MRS degree, is that the one they were talking about? The MRS. That's what the girls at my office, they'd be like, girl, I got an MRS. I got an MRS.
Yes.
So
yes, that's not free.
They weren't giving them out at USC for African American women. They weren't giving those out.
No. I mean, I think everything comes at a cost,
Absolutely.
I mean, I didn't have that opportunity afforded to me, but for what I hear, it still comes at a cost. I mean, so I don't think it sets anyone back. I think just like we all have different career paths. I wanted to go back to Shelley's comment. Like, I so admire you. That's my direction as well. Like being your own boss. Yes, it's harder because you are everything, and, you work, you get paid. And sometimes if you have a salary position, you work, you don't work, you still get paid. So I feel you on that, but yeah, if someone wants to be kept, and, that's their choice as well. But again, to me, nothing is free. So yeah, that's my comments on it.
Absolutely. I think for me,
Rashid got something to say.
Rashid, you got something? You got comments?
Yes, he just not saying it yet, but it's okay. We're just skirting along, people.
Exactly. What do you think, Tanya Michelle?
I just think that whatever someone decides is their choice. They just have to use wisdom. And I have
pause, ladies and gents. I don't know what's that. You guys hear that?
Someone doing housework. Who doing housework?
Hold on, let me close my door.
Okay.
Tanya has she's got a construction crew at her home. They're doing work.
All right.
I think that was the crew.
Gotcha.
I was going to say, like, till Tanya comes back, I think my ideas and perspectives about working and feminism and all of those things have changed as I've aged. But we'll listen to Tanya. You're back, and then I'll share my thoughts.
Yeah, I just think, whatever someone wants to do, they just need to use wisdom. I have some friends in a situation where they did not work, and then something happens and they get a divorce and they don't have a skill set. And then I have some friends in a situation that they worked and they made such a business agreement with their husband that it's working very well because, my husband gets so irritated when I say marriage is a business. But there's a business component of marriage that needs to be renegotiated every years because I'm not who I was when you met me. Needs have changed. And, so as long as somebody's constantly communicating and, for me as a woman, I could do that role as long as I don't lose my identity. And as long as, because I have a habit of just giving you all of me. When we were talking about this earlier, I give you all of me. And then only time that I would not give you that is I'm pissed off. Now ain't nobody getting nothing. When I got in my late 40s, I started setting out time for myself because before it was just my kids and my husband. That's what I did and breathed for years. And it wasn't, it's okay, but when I look back, I would have done it differently. So it just depends on, the individual and what they want in life. I can't judge what somebody else wants, but if that was my situation, I'll be okay with it. But I would have to have something to do for me to keep me my own identity in the marriage and not be subjected to what you wanted all the time. Because when somebody makes, when there's one person dominating the finance, dominating completely, there's sometimes you're subjective to their way of thoughts and living and what they want. And that's not I couldn't do that. I don't mind, negotiating anything, but full subjection, because I have not my anything of my own would be difficult for me.
Yeah. I think for me, I if I could rewind, I think I would be fine with being the person who sought after that MRS degree. I think what happened for me is I had this idea of what success meant on this like hierarchical continuum of upward movement. And so you go to high school to get good grades, to go to college, to get the best degree, to get the job, to climb the ladder. And never in there was it inserted, as you say in your book, Monica, a lot about self-care, or what does Lori want for a full life, as you mentioned, Tanya, right? And for me, there was a part of me that was that 1940 woman, that 1950s woman who vacuums with pearls and, cooked and had dinner and tried pot roasts and this and that. But I did that part still doing that 10-hour job and making that commute and doing all of those things. And so if I had had a Lori version of success and not all these external ideas are modeling, right? I think a lot of it too is modeling what we believe people should be doing. I may have taken a different pathway. I think with my marriage, it was never considered that I would not work. And I don't know if that's good or bad. That was never a part of the discussion. I think we were both, two little Black kids from the inner city trying to climb up the ladder, and we were working as many jobs as people could throw at us, right? And I think he may have redefined some things as well. So I
Lori,
wouldn't
that is
snub
such
the
a
MRS degree.
Think it's good or bad, Lori. I think that it's
Yeah.
whatever
listen to what
the two of you agree to. I don't think it's good or bad. I can tell you that when I was married, I was presented with can you stay home with the kids? And I thought about that. And I think it's because of the way that I was raised, because a lot of the women in my family were the breadwinner. They didn't want to stay with their husband, or they didn't want to stay with their man. See you later. Bye-bye. I'm still got my shit. So I think it depends on the two of you, what you guys want to decide. It was presented to me in my marriage that can you stay home with the kitten? And I just was like, that just don't sit well with me. And thank God it didn't, because I got a divorce. But I'm just saying, at that time, I had the option, but just being at home with the pearls, vacuuming with the fluffy dress didn't work for me. So,
LEC, we have a
Shelley, do you
question.
think
We have a
it's
question.
Tanya,
Tanya Michelle, I'm sorry. It was Rashid.
oh,
No,
okay.
Shelley, do you think that it's because I was listening to Lori and I was listening? I didn't even know in my circle growing up that a woman staying home taking care of kids was an option in my immediate setting. I did not have anybody in my immediate setting where the woman didn't have some type of little job or something. Like even my husband's mother, she only worked 4 hours a day. Her husband, when they were married, he paid for everything, but it wasn't like Joe was raised, go to work, you do this, and your wife stays home. And it wasn't like I was raised, you know what, you go, you do this, and you find a man who lets you stay home. It wasn't like any of that. So I wonder, how much of your environment, we always talk about mirroring our environment, mirroring how we were raised, kind of superimposes on.
I think my environment and how I was raised really imposed upon it, because the women in my family, they were all breadwinners. My grandmother, my great grandmother, my aunt, my mother, they were the breadwinners. So when I never even thought about it at all, like you said, just like you said, I probably never would have thought about it, but he presented it to me. And when he did, I was like, that don't sit right with me. I don't care if I'm just making $15 an hour or $7 an hour.
Do my nails.
Right.
I still needed some type of independence, not even thinking about what if we don't make it, or not, what if we get a divorce. It still didn't sit right with me based on my upbringing and the women in my family. When he presented that to me, it still didn't sit right with me. Even working part-time, I was like, no, I'm not working part-time. I'm working full-time. I think it depends on your upbringing.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I agree with all you ladies. I do think it's about what was modeled, and I was raised by a single parent mom, so I didn't see not being working or providing. And I think also I started working when I was like 16. So even though it was a part-time job, I still had my money. And I know that we also brought up, having to ask someone else for, being totally dependent upon someone else. So if that's not something you've seen, it would be hard to now have to ask this person for everything. And then part of being independent, I think that's something I also touched upon in my book that Lori brought up, what price are you willing to pay for that picture perfect life, which kind of goes into that, if that's how we define things. And, why did we go to school, or why was education expressed as importance if we're going to have now owing $100,000 and we're at home, quote unquote, not using the degrees. So I think it's multifaceted, and it again goes back to that person. But yeah, after so many years, like, well, that could work now. And maybe it wouldn't have worked when you were in your 20s or 30s, but maybe in the 50s, you're like, yeah, that sounds like a great plan. Let's do that now. Because at the end of the day, we are everything. Like you said, we're doing it all, and it's not easy just for those who do stay at home. So, as I think all of us see now more than ever, now that you have to homeschool and do so many different facets, and we care for our parents and we care for everyone, and it comes down to who cares for us and the burdens that we have on our shoulders. Yeah.
Wow.
Rashid, did you have a comment?
Yes, I did. So, Shelly, just a hypothetical question. Now, do you believe that if you were to have compromised into taking care of the kids, in fact, I'm gonna just actually stay at home and actually and just be that compromise, do you think that that you still would have gotten a divorce? Do you think that was the main factor of the divorce, of the non-compromise?
That I didn't stay home. No, I don't think that was the factor. I think I had a fear of giving someone, whether it was my husband, and at that time there was no talk of divorce or anything, but my fear of giving someone total control, I just couldn't do it. It was a fear. I don't care if I had 5 or 6 kids or 2 kids or whatever. And if we were married for 30 years, giving someone that much control where I've been out of work for that amount of time was very fearful for me, because I've always, my grandmother and my mother and my great grandmother, there was always a plan B. So my plan B was, okay, I'm going to be out of work for at least 20 years, because 17 and my kids are 3 years apart. I'll be out of work for at least 20 years. Do I want to do I want to expose myself to that, with the possibility that I may have to take care of myself? Whether it's a tragedy that something happened to my husband, whatever the case may be, do I want to put myself in the position of giving someone total control that may not be there for whatever reason? And so I don't think it had a factor in our marriage, because he was like, okay, fine. If that's what you want to do, sure. But I'm just letting you know that we don't have to do this. You don't have to work. But my thing was, I don't know if I want to give you all that. I don't know if I want to give my all to just the family. And then 20 years later, I'm twiddling my thumbs. What am I going to do? That was my fear. My fear of, okay, after 20 years of not working, what do I do? That's scary to me.
Or you work, then you can go work.
Yeah, but I want to be able to work somewhere that I want to work, not just, okay, let me try to find something. You know what I'm saying?
Well, who says it would be you'd have to try to find something? Maybe you would actually find something that you really wanted, because you'd have more leisure time to actually find what you want.
And maybe
Because you've had that 20-year time frame to cultivate your thoughts and be and live that reality at that said time.
Right. But I'm thinking from a human resource standpoint. Do I want to hire somebody that's been out of work for 20 years? Or do I want to hire someone who's been doing this for a while, or who has a little bit of experience? Even if they have 4 years experience, I'm going to pick this person with 4 years of experience versus somebody that's been out of work for 20 years. That's just my brain. So I don't know.
But that's that brain now. That would not have been that brain.
That was my brain
at the age of 25.
It was. It was. I was in
A
fear.
human resource brain. Okay.
Yeah, because I was a human resources assistant after I worked at Costco as a cashier, and then I worked in the vault and all those things. I always had a job. The women in my family have always. There's not have been a woman in my family that didn't have a job. So my fear was, what if I lose my experience? What if I lose, the person that's, even if the person has done this for 4 years, even if they were a cashier for 4 years, they got something more on me than me being out of work for 20 years. And that was my fear of not having something to hold on to.
So it's like the
A lot of
competitiveness. You
fear.
wanted to keep your competitiveness in
Yes.
the workplace. Hmm.
That was my
You
thought
know,
process at that time.
you,
Yeah.
you know what's so funny? When I started off as a nurse, I was working 3 days a week. Remember that, Jackie? I was working 3 days a week, and I was cool as a fan. And somehow I switched over to leadership, and I think I was on the right trajectory of working 3 days a week and then 3 12s. And I ended up working 5 15s.
5 10s. I think
Grew
Chris
up. Your
has her
kids got
hand
older.
up.
Your marriage got older. Your husband, the relationship got older. So you can make different moves. At least makes
Yeah.
sense to me.
And I think it all came to a balance because working 12 hours was very hard to figure out who was going to take the kids. And my husband had to be working until 7 o'clock, leaving the house at 5:30 and getting home at 8 o'clock was a really rough schedule as a mother, but those other days you were off was cool as a fan, but the work days were really hard. Yeah.
Right. Chris, you have your hand up. Did you have a question?
You know what? I just got on the freeway, but I hear what you guys
Chris,
are.
you should not be on the phone.
But I got my earpiece on, and I got both my hands on the steering wheel. I'm looking in the rear view mirror, the side view, and I'm driving at a steady pace. And I'm looking at the highway. I'm not being distracted because there ain't really that many cars on the freeway right now. But I want to do it real quick. I'm saying, okay, we're going to rewind this whole thing again. Go back and hear what I just said. But anyway, listen. So I'm listening to what you guys saying, and that is so true. As for me, I had that same upbringing where I wasn't really raised by my mom for maybe up to my, junior high or middle school or something. I was raised by my mom, but the most of the time I was raised by my sisters. And so, they worked, and that's all I could hear was go to work, you can make your own money by that way. When that big bro don't do what he got to do, then you can do on your other, and so that was in my mindset. Even though I didn't feel like that was right for me, like, well, okay, well, I just don't want to just have kids and just go to work and just be the man and the woman of the house, but it ended up being that kind of way somewhat. But if I could have stayed at home and not being the worker, because you kind of attract certain things to yourself consistently, and it's kind of like repetitive when you're not trying to. But because I had to learn how to work through that, and I started thinking about myself, like, okay, well, what do I really want to do? Okay, my mind said, well, okay, I'm gonna get this good job. I always said, well, I'm gonna get a good job, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm working it, and I still got the good job, and still got it, and still did me no good, because I still was living paycheck to paycheck. I still didn't get none, still didn't have none. But what I wish is where my sisters and brothers who had homes could have talked to me about, well, you know what? Take your money, put it to the side, and buy you a house, and start getting into real estate, or start a whole different type of mindset. The stuff that I know now, if somebody would have told me this back then, I would be a monster right now. You cannot stop me. But I'm on my way. But it's just that thought of, I wanted to be the one to not go a 9 to 5 and work my whole life through, And so, I mean, I am where I am today, but I appreciate where I am today because my mindset is different than back then. Now I can make those type of moves and talk to my husband about it, like, hey, let's talk about this. When ever since Tanya said that first thing about negotiating some stuff, I'm telling you, that's been in my mind, like, okay, we need to negotiate some stuff.
Compromise. That's called compromise. You compromise. I think that's what we do when we're in marriages or relationships. We compromise. And I just think that was one of the things based on my upbringing. That was one of the things I couldn't compromise. I couldn't compromise just being at home and raising my children. I love them dearly and being with them is wonderful, but I just felt I was going to lose something not being in that work sector. I felt like I was losing something. I don't know if that.
See, I kind of grew up in a different, that's why I guess difference is like, we grew up a little bit differently. My mother and her siblings or her sisters, they all, had husbands. They all did work when they chose to work, but it was always a choice, you know what I mean? But we were kind of raised almost, you do what you want to do, but you always can know how to make your own money. But it was more or less kind of, you know, being taking care of your husband kind of a thing. I was kind of in the 50-ish style because that's when they started their life out, but it was almost like that lever to beaver kind of thing, in our household growing up. Huh, sissy? So,
Absolutely.
you know,
Vacuuming with pearls on.
basically, our job was to, just do our hair and our nails and be cute and get some lip gloss and the latest Jordache. But you know what I mean? But you still need to know how to make your money. My daddy always made sure we knew how to make money and get you an education so you don't have to depend on. But if you
Mhm.
choose to and you want to spend Red's money, by all means, spend Red's money, but still know how to go to the ocean and make your own money.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think, Jackie, the difference is I had a
I
fear
know.
of losing that. I don't know what to describe it, but I always had a fear of losing it. If I stayed out of that sector for too long, I had a fear of losing that, or sitting in front of someone and saying, "Oh, I chose to be a homemaker." And I'm not saying anything's wrong with it. Please don't think that I'm saying that, but I just had a fear of.
I couldn't do that. So I hate it. I don't take it wrong. I take it like, damn, I got cheated out that shit. But I'm just saying, because that was the go-to. That was me. That was the only go-to. You go, somebody take care of you. You just cute enough.
Right.
Go let the pimp take you.
Even now, I'll be honest with you, being a single woman, even if I met someone who could take care of everything, who could pay I still would have to do a little something, even if it's 10 hours a week. I have to have something to make me feel secure. If that's the right word. I don't know if that's the right word, but like I said, he could pay for my whole house. He could pay for everything. Everything could be 100% paid for, but I still got to have something, even if it's 5 or 10 hours a week or whatever, to make me, I don't know, feel secure. Secure is important to me.
I agree with what
Absolutely.
everyone is saying. I think also Jackie brought up a good point of, having the job that you want versus what you need.
Mhm.
And having that option is amazing. But I also agree with you, Shelley, like to not be able to bring in any type of income, you would feel like you're not secure because you've been accustomed and that's what you're used to. And I think all of it is valid. Yeah, because it's hard to give up some things. That's why we always say in education, for people who separate and then try to come back, is costly because you're now paying this cost of tuition and you're not able to work. So it's not just that cost. So I totally agree with everyone. I think it's all valid. And again, it's an individual choice. And maybe
Mhm.
it's different again at a certain time in your life. And
Fair.
my marriage is definitely a business. You're absolutely right,
Yeah,
especially in
I agree with
California.
Tanya too. I think it's a business. Yeah, that security, even though he could be totally, take care of everything, I just still feel like, okay, let me just do my little 5 hours. Let me do my little 10 hours. I'll be okay. I still would have that. Even, I'll be honest with you, it don't even have to be a man. It could be, I could have won the lottery. I still couldn't just quit. I just still couldn't just quit just yet. Now, maybe next month or 6 months from now, maybe. But I just couldn't just say, okay, I'm up and out of this bitch because I didn't won the lottery. I can't do that. I don't know why. Just the security, I still need to have this intact.
Right. Stevie from our Zoom room says, I hear you, Shelley. It's like if you are out of the marketplace too long, when you come back, they may they may not see you suitable for the job. Next
Well,
thing you know, you're homeless. I
that,
think your
that would
intuition
not
was
be
speaking
me.
to you.
That would not be me. I'm not going to be homeless. So my thing is, and that's my fear. Because I look at resumes like that, because I'm gonna be like, okay, you ain't worked in like 5 or 6 years, and now you trying to come back in here and do this, and that. How are you gonna do that? How have you kept your knowledge up? How have you kept your whatever? Like, how are you gonna come in here out of being out of the workforce for 5 years? Let's just say five. for 5 years. How have you kept your knowledge up? Same thing with a teacher. Teachers have to keep going to class and teaching themselves. So me, you've been out of the workforce for 5 years, maybe even 10. And now you want me to hire you versus somebody that's been doing this for a while, that was my thought process. Like, I can't be out the game because that would take me out the game.
Right. And I think it's also too, as Monica said, it's a mindset. I think when individuals make that decision to step out, right, then you come back in maybe at entry level, right? So, and it's just a matter of saying whether or not you want to be at age whatever, but you're at entry level, right? Because once you develop a skill set, you're a good organizer or deductive reasoning or whatever that set is. Managing a home definitely keeps you into accounting. It keeps you in the organization. It keeps you interpersonal skills, all of those things that will be marketable and sellable, right? But it's just whether or not you want to be 50 at entry level,
right?
Or where you are on that age continuum, I think.
Right.
Makes that difference. But Monica, in looking in your book, you have this piece, and I'm going to ask the other ladies that they can talk about. But you have this piece that really spoke to me, and I think is relevant right now. That is entitled "You Are Worthy," and I think sometimes as women, we forget that, right? Would you mind reading that piece to us, Monica?
Oh, okay. I had some other ones outlined, but yes, one
but
second.
You can do the other ones, but I would just like to hear, it's like on page 15 of your book.
Okay.
I'd like to hear "You Are Worthy."
Okay. Here we go. All right. My sisters, you are worthy. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of respect. You are worthy of your desire. You are worthy because of you. You are more than the physical. You are more than the material. You are more than your outward beauty. You are a person with high self-esteem. You are worthy. You are you. Thank you, Lori.
That spoke so
yes.
loudly to me. I don't know if it spoke to other people, but that throughout my life, it has been a place where I wonder if I deserve a seat at the table, and people look at me and they're like, I would never think Lori would think that. But that is a thought, unfortunately, that I fight every single day. And that's just being transparent and real talk every single day, no matter what scenario I face. I have that in the back of my mind. Are you worthy to be here? And I don't know if other ladies feel that, but I think particularly as a woman of color, particularly as a woman of color that climbs up the corporate ladder or gets into circles where there are not that many people of color, I have to continually ask myself or remind myself that I am worthy to have a seat there. Did that speak to anyone else on the panel?
It spoke to me, Lori.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Cheryl.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I don't think it speaks to me to say, I don't never say to myself, am I worthy? I continuously tell myself that I am, especially when there are people who think or feel that they're smarter or try to talk like they're smarter. I tell myself often, you smarter than this. Like, she's trying to make you feel like, or talk over you or cut you off. And then I have to, I remind myself that I'm worthy, and I tell them, you just cut me off and that was rude. So let me finish what I was saying. Like, I want to remind them, not only just myself, I want to remind them as well. That was very rude. You cut me off and you did not need to do that. Let me finish what I'm going to say. Then you can say what you want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Girl, that privilege.
I find that, Shelley C. I haven't quite got there yet. I'm working.
Because it's anger. It's to me, I sleep better because the anger boils so deep in me. You felt that it was okay to cut me off. I was saying something. So let me finish and then you can say what you need to say. And for a long time, I would just shut down because I'll be honest, they were Caucasian and mostly everybody is Caucasian. But then I had to say, I don't care if they think I'm aggressive. I need to let them know you're being rude right now. You did not need to cut me off. Do not shut me down. Let me finish what I have to say and then you can talk. And it never happened again.
I admire that. I do. Tanya, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, so, Lori and I, we'll talk about the challenges, sometimes I'll have at work or she'll have at work, just being a woman, African American woman. And I think I never thought that I wasn't worthy, but sometimes I will be sitting at the table saying, that I know that I'm here because I belong here, right? I belong at the table because I represent a population that's not represented at the table. But I think through that, um, I do always watch how I represent myself and how I create continue to create the pathways for others who may need to get there. And sometimes I feel so much pressure to make sure that I'm making the right decision and that I'm doing the right thing or handling myself the right way, because if not, I can the way I respond to something be like, the last time we had a Black woman, she did this. And so it can be a generalized statement that all Black women are like this. So I try to, represent myself in a different way, but it's very different. But I did have a situation like Shelley was talking about. And I think coming from St. Francis, where I was working, in 22 years, and then going into a whole new culture where everybody's tenure is at least 20 years and mine is 10 months. I did have a situation of the day when I was asked, so there was a conversation that was going on, and can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. There was a conversation that was going on, and I've learned to be slow to comment. I've learned not to give my opinion unless I'm asked, and or unless I think it's instrumental to patient safety. So they were talking about something, and I didn't say anything. And the privileged one turned to me and she said, "Latanya, what do you think?" And so when I said what I think, she just got upset. I mean, she was mad. And I said, I did like this. I said, just a minute. I'm sorry. Maybe I misunderstood that you asked for my opinion. And then the whole room got quiet. The whole room got quiet. And I said, so, I was just responding to your request for my opinion. And then she settled down and this, that, and other. So I've learned how to put them on Front Street without, putting them on Front Street. I've learned how to do that. But to me, it's sometimes I'm looking and I'm like, gosh, I I I could be trailblazing for someone else in this organization. And I need to just make sure that I represent myself very, very well. And I think that's what my struggle is, because somebody doesn't have to think about that for someone in their culture because of the privilege that they already have. And so I think that's the stressor for me all the time.
And I totally agree. I think.
Jasmine. Oh, go ahead, Monica. I was just going to read a comment from our Zoom room. Jasmine
No, go ahead.
says, every morning I set myself affirmations, the power of the word. Jasmine also says, thank you all for sharing. I grew in a very traditional Hispanic home. I told my family I wanted a higher education and no one supported my dream. The minute I moved out for college, I was told you were on your own. From that moment on, I found ways to survive and be independent. I became the first to obtain a college degree in my family. Now I am currently working on my doctorate. Congratulations, Jasmine. That is
Yes.
great. Woman power, definitely.
Yes.
I'm sorry. What were you going to comment, Monica?
Oh, yes, Jasmine, that's amazing. I mean, yes, support is so much. I was just going back to being worthy, and I love what everyone said. I think that sometimes we feel like we are representing our whole culture when we speak. you know. And I think, you know, and then being at the table, sometimes the one of one at the table. But I like what Shelly said, and also Tanya, Shelly, and the point of, you know, you have to teach people how to treat you. And then, like you said with Tanya, you know, I'm going to be at the table. I am smart enough to be at the table. My credentials state I should be at the table. But if you ask, I'm going to say my opinion. And if you don't like it, it's okay. You know, we can agree to disagree, but you ask, you know, and I am at the table. And, you know, it's not enough just to have a seat at the table. That's not what we're here for. It's about being respected at the table. And then knowing that our voice matters, you know, and again, we're representing us, you know, as in this individual person, and not having to have all of that on our shoulders. And also, like what Chris said too, you know, other people were taught, well, we were taught, I'll say, especially for me, you know your audience. Like you gauge your audience before you say something, you know. You just don't make a comment that could be totally offensive and you know, and just go on by your way, which you know others do and they have that luxury. Like you really know your audience and think about what you say before you say it. I just think that that's something that we all have as women professionals, you know, we're out somewhere that we know that. So I agree with everyone.
Yeah,
Thank you,
I'd like to
Lori.
say I
It
agree with
come-
Tanya when she said, you know, she's slow to speak. I am the same way. I'm very slow to speak. But when I do speak, or if you ask my opinion, you have to be respectful of the fact that I'm stating it. Don't cut me off, or don't not you asked my opinion, or you said something, or you included me in the conversation. So now you need to be respectful of my answer, whether you like it or not.
Wow, it gets wicked out there, right in the
Oh, it gets
boardroom
very
from time
wicked.
to time. That's sometimes maybe I'm not even going to go back to that one show, the ladies of the chat, about how to relieve some of those stressors. Shelley, we talked about that special room. Some people, human resources, probably going to frown on it. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to just take a quick moment here to give a very special shout out to one of our listeners, ladies of the chat, and Monica L. I want to give a very special shout out to Mr. Rodney Lister, ladies and gentlemen. He is a new listener to our show. Mr. Lister, shout out to Mr. Rodney Lister. Ladies and gentlemen, this gentleman is running for the next seat as the mayor of the city of our hometown, Compton, California. So I'm like super duper excited. Rodney, anyway, is going to be a guest, ladies and gentlemen, on the Poetry of Justice show with Jackie Ray Phillips on yikesradio.com and acceleratedradio.net. And he will be coming way to us on Saturday, April 10th, ladies and gentlemen. So that's going to be like 10 days before the big election in the city of Compton. From what I understand, there's going to be 10 seats. So there's 10 individuals running for this one seat. So Mr. Rodney Lister's on that ticket, and we're saying Lister for mayor here at the Poetry of Justice show. So thank you so much for tuning in with us tonight. And I just welcome you to the show. And these are the amazing ladies of the chat and Monica L. So enjoy the ride. Thank you, Mr. Lister. Ladies, if you want to say something to the candidate.
Well, hello, Mr. Lister. It's Lori G. I'm excited to get a chance to talk with you on the show. As you know, born and raised in Compton, lots of feelings about the community, about forward moving, about so many issues. So looking forward to hearing your platform and getting to meet you.
I thank you, Lori G. I just wanted to put that shout out there because he was online with us, the ladies rolling with us. But go ahead. Thank you so much. I just wanted to interject. I apologize, Shelly. Go ahead, guys.
Oh no, no, you didn't interrupt at all. I'm
Right.
happy to have him on the show and have him as a listener, I should say.
Right. So, Monica, I have a question for you before we leave the piece, You Are Worthy. What was the motivation for that? Where did that come from?
Oh my gosh, that's an open-ended question. I think it was definitely deep. I've done a lot of self-work. I'm definitely therapy and you know doing what you need to do to make yourself feel whole. And um, I feel like a lot of times women of color are, as I've been told now, this book is not just for women of color, but for women. is we don't worthy. We don't feel like we're worthy to have certain things, whether it's society telling us that, or if it's certain relationships that we've had, or not seeing things. And so I think definitely my book was more about positive affirmations and letting first know you're worthy yourself, in my opinion. And then once you know you are worthy, and then others will also see your worth. And so I think a lot of times, we are still being classified as second class citizens, and this society during this time. But things are changing. Our vice president, and so I think that it was just important to put out, very simple piece, but I feel like it has so many meanings and evokes so much emotion, and people will now think it. And I think, like you said, the power of the word, by saying it, then if you didn't feel it, now you feel it. And if you say it out loud and you keep affirming that, then I think we'll be better as a society, because so many things nowadays with certain generations, they base everything on the materialistic things that they have, and if they don't have that, then they feel like they don't have value or worth.
Very true. And Monica, tell all of our listeners how they can get a copy of Still a Lady.
So Still a Lady is available on Amazon. Also, I will be gifting one of the listeners a copy that I know Jackie will touch upon. And I am available on Instagram. I'm available at Monica L_poet on Instagram. And if you select to follow me tonight, I will be gifting 10 copies of my book, and I will sign them and send them to you personally. So I will select based on those who follow me, and I will DM you for your mailing address. And I'm just so excited. Like I'm busting at the seams. I might not even need
All
a
right.
flight in a minute. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes.
That's great. Great.
Monica, I have a question for you. Did you
Uh-huh.
want to give us a little bit of backstory regarding the inspiration of Rewrite My Narrative?
Oh, yeah. That
Yeah.
is a favorite. And one of my good friends, she really loved that. Um, so again, I never feel like I'm the spokesperson for everyone, but a lot of times, we're raised to be that doctor or lawyer, and you present yourself thoroughly as a woman, and you should, be married and have children. And sometimes, that's not your course of action. Sometimes you just choose to do things differently, and I feel like sometimes people don't feel that you have the same value. Like I know for my, once I was over a certain age, and and they were like, "You never been married," and people be like, "What? Were you engaged?" Da, 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 da. And then they just go through these whole series as if I'm not valued as a woman, or question my womanhood, because I did not accomplish these things that society dimmed. Hopefully my internet's not messing up, but as what I should have accomplished at this time in my life. So I always feel like rewrite my narrative and how you position yourself. um and we don't all have to be that woman of the 50s, and there's no spite to them, or any negative connotations. We all have our own story and our own path.
Mhm.
Love this piece. That's what made me think about and why I posed those other questions. I really do like this
Yes.
piece. Thank you, Monica.
Thank
That was
you.
one of my favorite pieces too, Jackie. When you
Oh,
said
wow.
the title, I was like, oh yeah, that's one of the pieces I have turned down, right? On page
Thank you, ladies.
30. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
this
Page
is
30.
a good one. Because
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, as
Yes.
many times, and I think since we're talking about women and women, that we have to rewrite our narrative to what we would like for it to look like, right? Because so many times we have this cookie cutter response to everything that we do because that's what women do, And so rewriting the women's narrative, I don't mean take away your femininity. I don't mean take away your womanhood or your mother, you being a wife or even friend or whatever, but rewriting the way that you do stuff and not always living inside this box. And I
Yes.
sorry, that poem really, really touched me.
Thank you, ladies.
that piece.
Y'all making me want to cry. Thank you.
I
It's
You
totally
know,
so
it's
agree.
one thing to write
accomplished.
something and you know how you feel, but then for others to receive it, it's like really the greatest gift. It really is the greatest gift. Yeah. So
Ins-
thank you.
Inspiration.
Welcome. You're so welcome. Thank you so much for being with us tonight and for sharing and hanging out with us. It's been great times.
Yes.
And Monica, I think you said you had a few pieces that you wanted to share with us.
Yes, yes. Well,
Okay.
I think just with the theme of the show, and I know that obviously is a lot of hard work and 6 years the business. I think 2020. Obviously we're in 2021, but we're still dealing with some of the things. That's one of the pieces I wanted to share. So it starts off. We were excited to see you, but soon after you arrived, nation shut down, ordered safer inside. The world watched a man unarmed die. Woke eyes, brutality reign, love came, unified we're strong, laws change, but the pain never subside, Black pride. So, obviously, that's a timely piece. And
Mm,
I just felt like it just really spoke to everything because I feel like we were in a pandemic, in another pandemic, of seeing, what happened many times over again and the same type of verdicts. But I will say, Black Lives Matter and just the constant pressure, not letting it be an isolated incident that goes away. I am so proud of them, and all the marchers and, that they stood up and stood for us and that we did see change. But obviously the fight is not over. And,
mm,
they took a different approach than when this happened in the 60s or when it happened in the 90s,
mhm,
and with Rodney King and, Latasha Harlan, like, I went to Westchester. I was there when she, was there as well.
mm.
All these were pivotal. Rodney King happened right before I started at USC. So, but now it feels different. So that was one of the pieces that, really touched me. Yeah.
Mhm.
That one, that's a great
Absolutely.
piece. Thank you so much.
Very
Yes.
I have
beautiful.
another one. I have 5 or 10, but I will not monopolize it
Oh.
with with mine.
Go ahead.
But another one that I don't I don't know.
I can't hear her.
Uh-oh, we can't hear you, Tanya. I think your
Breathe.
internet's a little
So
down.
okay, so my phone. Oh my,
Okay, I think we can hear you now.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so these are two, and you can pick which one that you really like the most out of these two, and maybe talk about the history or the emotion behind the content. So stronger than you know is one of mine. I really like that one, and I love me.
Yes.
Me. What page is
What-
stronger than you know?
Stronger than
oh,
you know. Hold on, I have them all.
I love that one. I love both of them. Yes, I love all of them. I just look at them as
42.
my babies. Yeah. I'm
Page
sorry.
42, and I love
Okay.
me. And I think that, and I'll just tell you why I love me, and then I'll hand it over to you as the content expert, of course. But I love me.
I like that one too.
Yeah, I don't think I really thought that that was okay when I was younger, right?
Hmm.
I don't know if I'm phrasing this the right way, but I didn't appreciate to love me until I got to know me, right?
Hmm.
And I got to know me because I didn't know me. I didn't know me very well. I'm probably into my mid 30s. And then once I got to know me, and you feel like you're doing your self-reflecting, you're doing your work, you're kind of changing some of the things that you did when you were younger, you're rewriting your story of who people thought you were and all that type of things, or maybe things you did as mistakes, whatever. Once I got to know me and to love whatever, it's more like I love me and my peace and my just my serenity and who I am as a person, and I love me enough to take care of me.
Me.
And that's what that means. I didn't used to take care of me. I think I started taking care of me when I was in my early 40s, and I'm 51. But just to love me enough to take care of me. I was watching Diana Ross, and this was a change, this I can pinpoint to this, a change in time in my life. And I think I was 41, and she was on the Oprah Winfrey show. And she said, I came to a point when I realized if I don't take care of me, I can't help others. And I felt like I was helping others and neglecting me. And it wasn't until that moment and some other things that she said that I was like, you know what? This is really about me and my journey and my purpose here in life. And hopefully you can enjoy it with me, but I can
Yes.
no longer compromise or not take care of me to help you. And so, oh, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get this one blown up, framed, put it on my
I
desk.
love it. I feel like you articulated it better than I ever could have. Like you win. Because again, it's, again, like you said, work, we do the work. And again, I feel like society, whether you're single or married, we still go out to the world. Whether it's directly or indirectly, I feel like we're judged. And so not till you come to that place where some people will say you're comfortable in your skin. Again, Lori knew me when I ain't know nothing, me and my little ponytail and just, making it away with my little book bag, trying to figure things out. And so, like you said, thank you for sharing your journey. I feel like I'm still learning me. And I feel like when I published this book, that really was a release for me to love me. Because some of these pieces, I was like, oh my God, somebody read this one and ask me about it. I'm a certain kind of way, but I feel like I still had to put it out there. And if you read it and you see it and you ask, then obviously I have to be transparent about it because I put it out to the world. But again, you articulated the poem better than I ever could have. And I appreciate that. And you're absolutely right. Because again, loving yourself, knowing that you're worthy, I feel like then that vibrates out and then people know that they have to love and respect you as well. And those who don't, then they need to go to the left. So
Right.
thank you, thank you, thank you.
To the left, to the
Yes.
left. Everything in the box to the left.
Yes.
I
Yes.
think loving, because I think that loving you also is working on those things that you may not be happy with about yourself, but
Exactly.
you love yourself enough. Bye, Jojo. You love yourself enough. You love
Mhm.
yourself. Can you hear me?
You're freezing. Just
You love yourself enough to really try to always improve and have growth, personal growth.
Exactly. Exactly. I feel like no one is perfect. And when you know you're not perfect, you can only improve upon that. But for some people, it takes them a while to even get there, to even know, like, oh, I'm not, So yes, thank you for
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah, it
Dang,
is.
wow.
And sometimes it's like getting permission, right? You
Right.
feel like you need to give yourself permission to take the time to get to know you, to get to know
Right,
yourself.
right.
Absolutely.
And then
Jackie,
stronger than you know, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead, Monica.
I was gonna say going to stronger than you know. I just feel like, we've all been through personal challenges. And so I'm sure like, hindsight is always 2020. But if someone told you down the line you was gonna experience XYZ, you'd be like, oh my God, I can't make it through that. Like, no, I'm not built for that. And
exactly.
then you make it through. You make it through. And it's hard and it's painful. And we rely on our sister friends and we cry, but you made it through, and you tell the story. And so it strengthens other people. So that was really more of my thoughts about Stronger Than You Know, because, I've been through personal challenges just like everyone else. And if someone told me you're going to experience X, Y, and Z, I'd be like, oh no, I wasn't built for that. That's not in my cards. But, like they say, what don't break you, make you stronger.
Exactly. I agree.
And bend, but don't break, So that's the message behind Stronger Than You Know, and just really having your community. And I've unfortunately had a lot of people that I've known who didn't have this type of community. So I commend you ladies where, no matter where you're at in your life or your status, that you have a sisterhood, because that's so important, because so many people feel so isolated now. And
Mhm.
most of us know like the onset of depression and anxiety has increased during this, pandemic, and also suicidal thoughts. So I think that, hopefully everyone out here knows that you have someone that cares about you and have someone that you can actually lean upon during those difficult times. Yeah.
You know, that is so true. And I'll just give an example of, I was telling a friend of mine, we were in this when COVID was really just running rampant and we had no space, and it was just horrible. And this doctor and I were standing in the middle of the floor, and she looked at me, she said, I've never seen nothing like this. I've never seen anything like this. And we were sitting there and we were crying. And then, I looked at her and I said, but we're strong. And I didn't say we're stronger than we know, but I'm reflecting now and saying we were stronger than we thought we were, right? Because I didn't get into nursing to see people die like that. That's why I didn't go to adult nursing, right? And so it's really something how a situation can bring out your strength when people depend on you for their lives.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah,
um, Dealing with this situation, it's like you become stronger than you know. You're stronger than you
oh,
know. So that
absolutely.
really, really, I mean, it
Yes.
really touched me.
Thank you. And healthcare providers, like I just, oh my gosh, because again, not to get too personal, but there was a family situation before the pandemic. And I just, I was at the hospital for 12 days, with a family member. And I see the nurses come in and how tired and but still very much about their job. So I couldn't even imagine a year later in the pandemic and faced with all of this. So again, I commend all the healthcare professionals and still being out and, you know, having to also deal with your own families and maybe not even being around because of this situation. So yes, very much stronger than you know. That is definitely our essential workers and healthcare providers. Thank you.
I think
See,
that's why
that's a
we
beautiful
have
thing.
testimonies and trials is to find out how strong we are in those testimonies and trials. Half of the stuff that we go through, if we had a choice, we say, no, I don't want to go through that. But I think it's through those things that we find out how strong that we really are, and that I made it. Like I'm okay, Um, and again, healthcare workers, I think I have to take my hat off and congratulate them. And Tanya, I just have to say, it's rewarding, I would hope, because of the things that people are going through. And yeah, you find out how strong you are through those tough times. Unfortunately, I think that's where the trials of life come in to make us stronger. And you go through things and then you figure out, man, I was stronger than I thought I could be. I'm like, okay. So that's pretty cool. As a woman, I think that's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
And I think
Yes.
another pretty cool thing in this book that everybody has to go buy, okay? Still a Lady, Poems for My Sisters. Make sure you pick up your copy, is that you can do this journaling. And so right after the next page from the poem Stranger Than You Know is an opportunity to journal and answer the question, where does your strength come from? And so, Monica, I want to ask you, where does your strength come from?
Oh my gosh. My strength comes from a lot of different uh, a lot of different ways. So my strength comes from I would say I'm a spiritual person. I definitely pray a lot. Um, I pray on my knees. I pray when I wake up. I'm thankful that I woke up. I know that every moment is a gift. I don't take anything for granted. My strength comes from my mother. My strength comes from my friends, my sisters, and then also inner strength. A lot of inner strength where I look at my ancestors, the things that they had to endure, and knowing that, they are a part of me, I am a part of them. So I look to those who are not, physically here with us anymore. I'm definitely coming deeper in my spirituality, where I know that, some things are just a moment in time, but everything that surrounds me, and I try to definitely vibrate high and only surround myself with those who do the same, which is difficult and challenging, but, and looking at this is just a moment, like I really have been able to step back and say, this is a moment right now, and that I control my happiness. Um, and so if this moment doesn't provide it, that does not dictate me. Um, and that I'm no longer chasing titles or, what society defines as beauty or success. So I think that that right there was definitely something to grow from, because as you stated earlier, Lori, we think we're supposed to be these titles and, you need to get this and you need to get that. And then when I realized, how sometimes our health suffers from that, and like what we're doing to ourselves, and like Shelley has spoke upon, if you don't let it out, how when things are inside, they fester and can create diseases and different types of, anxieties. I'm like, I can't do that to myself no more. And I, have paid that price with my health to, in order to quote unquote gain success or, climb that ladder, which I don't even aspire anymore. So I think that that's my greatest thing. As long as I can take care of myself, then I'm good.
Right.
Yes.
That's a beautiful
In our,
thing.
Mhm. Go ahead,
I'm sorry.
Jackie.
Go ahead, Lord G. Go ahead, dear.
Oh, no, I was just going to tie in that in your pre-show interview with Jackie and I, Jackie asked you the question about 3 things that you definitely wanted to discuss. And one of those things is just what you said, which is society and titles do not define me, right? And so if there have been spaces, I'm gathering or hearing that there's been spaces and places in your journey that you felt they did. Did you buy into that? And did you too believe they defined you?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I felt that, based on my degrees, that I should be have a certain title and, and my work. And I'm not saying that they weren't valid, but they don't define me anymore, because I've been in situations where you have certain titles and then they're taken away from you. And it's like, that could really do something to your psyche if you're not in a strong place in your life. But then I just realized, like, I'm always going to be Monica, despite what you say or do, and my credentials are mine. So regardless if I am this title or not, that doesn't impact me, or that doesn't change me as a person. And so, but I had to go through, a lot of, knowing that I don't have to be associated with this brand. I don't have to have this title, because that doesn't define me. And, growing up, I thought those things did. You have to have this kind of car, this kind of jewelry, this kind of this. And, now I'm sure I'm shopping at Ross and happy. Right? Like, whatever. And I'm not putting anything on, yes, if I could go to those other stores when I want to, but it's not that I feel like I need to have this and that. And that's no slight to anyone who, feels that way. I just, gonna do something a little different with my dollars. And so yeah, I think that that's important. But again, that's a self type thing. Where some people be like, no, this is for me. But personally speaking, those things don't define me anymore. And I'm happier in my space of publishing than I'm happier with any other accomplishment in my life. Yeah.
What do you say to the young author, the young girl that, or not even younger, but someone who's want to write their first book? What do you say to that person, please, Monica?
I say do it right now. It will never be perfect, but just make sure it represents you in that time. I say that we're in a good space. You can basically produce a book for free, if you're very savvy, meaning that if you know how to edit or use Grammarly, if you know how to use Canva and create a book cover, do it. You don't have to wait for that publishing deal. You don't have to wait for someone to say your work is good enough or it meets our requirements, because I've been through all of that. Educate yourself, and you can go to YouTube University, which I did, and just, just put in certain things. You will learn a lot. Um, I would say put it out there. Honestly, my first book, as you know, I'm very transparent. I probably did the whole thing for less than $500. And when I
Wow.
say less than $500, I mean had someone edit and also had a cover. Maybe we can get some advertisement from Fiverr, but Fiverr has been that for me. You can upload to KDP, which is under Amazon for free. Basically, they just make sure you don't have any misspelled words. Now, I'm not saying it's easy that you just put a work out and then people are going to flock and buy millions of copies. Marketing is the hard part to me. Once it's
Mhm.
done, then you have to market your book. You have to be on social media. You have to learn hashtags. You have to have a follower, so you have to have support, but don't let those things deter you. Get your work out, and I'll be more than happy to help anyone with the steps, because we all have a voice, and I'm not saying I'm the best poet, and I'm not saying that my work is like oh so amazing and I just came up with this bright idea. I'm just saying that this is how I felt and I got it out to the world. So don't let anything stop you or discourage you. You can definitely get your book out there for a low cost, almost free, if you want to. As I tell you, should at least have two things, and that's an editor and a book cover designer. So if you can afford those two, then you're good to go. Yeah.
Mhm.
Some of the challenge, or did you face any challenges with that? What would be the one thing that you would kind of say, hey guys, look out for that pitfall, if there is one?
Oh gosh. Oh yes, there's definitely challenges. I think the challenge is just getting out of your own way, to be honest. Um, the self-doubt, because you will doubt yourself. You'll be like, no one's gonna buy it. People will ask you who's gonna buy it. You know, just getting out of your own way. You never know. There's billions of people in this world.
Mhm.
Definitely educate yourself though. Self-publishing, you know, is like everything else. Um, you can start your own publishing company, and so that you have more of a wide distribution. So I would say just like really educate yourself. But the main thing is just get the book done. That to me is the hardest part, getting the book done to what you feel is complete. And only you can say what is complete. But you'll know it in your spirit when it is done. And, allowing yourself time to market as well. So you have to pour into it. I almost equated to like being a baby. And of course, I'm not taking anything away from the mothers, but once you have it, you have to nurture it. You have to care for it. You have to make sure you put the time and energy, and you will see the reward. When I post and market heavy, I see the difference in my sales, through Amazon. And when I don't, I don't always see that. But you got to figure out what marketing works best for you. If you write something that is great for an organization or large, that's where I'm at, where, pitch it to them, so I would love for my book to be at a school district, or, something for writing. I personally thought my book was for us as in our age range, but then I heard people's daughters reading it that were like teens and stuff. And well, you feel like it's appropriate with the content, then definitely do that. So yeah, so knowing your market, that's what I would say, but definitely, getting out of your own way. Yeah.
Getting out of your own way. I like that. I'm sorry, Miss Lori G, please.
Oh no, I was just saying, yeah, getting out of your own way, definitely. And I think, like you say, Monica, carving time, that just lands on me and speaks to me that we have to be intentional in making that time. And I think I'm one of the biggest offenders of that I don't make the time that I want to really slow down to figure out what I want to do, or what isn't related to things that I feel I'm obligated to do. So
Right.
I think
Right.
that's definitely important. Right.
Yeah.
Now,
And even
Monica, I
if
know
it's an
you.
hour. Oh, go. I'm sorry.
Yeah, even if it's an hour, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. What did that lady? She wrote the book, the sexy book, Tanya. She wrote it on the train, on her commute,
Right.
back and forth.
Yes.
Shades of
Yeah,
Yes.
Grey,
right?
right? What
Yeah,
is
50
it?
50
Shades.
Shades of
Yeah.
50
Grey.
Shades of Grey. She wrote
In
that
your
whole
spare
book
time,
just in her spare time, commuting back and forth on her cell phone. So,
right?
Exactly.
it,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's how I did mine. A lot of 'em. Remember Lori, we would be out and about. And she, who are you
absolutely.
texting? I'm like, I'm just writing. You know, the Holy Spirit was giving it to me. I was just getting it all out. So, but I want to share tonight. I'm gonna share tonight. I want to share tonight, guys. So I've been doing some fun stuff, getting back in the groove of doing my poetry and writing and all of that fun, exciting stuff. So I'm gonna just share with you guys tonight. I haven't shared in a while, so I thought, why not? Let's do it. Y'all feel for how y'all feel about a little more poetry tonight? Y'all up for it?
Absolutely. Love it.
Okay. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. So this one, this is a new piece. And so this is like brand new. I wrote this one like specific for an entry into the Arroyo Arts Collective with, Shelley C., our dear friend, Miss Linda Kay. This is one of the things that she turned us on to. But this is a newer piece. So, guys, give me the energy, right? And this particular piece is called Genuine. She says, soft and tender are the heat of the tongue, the soft and the tender, the membranes do flowingly love thee. An excursion of my mind dedicated until the end of all time. The science of the mind meditates unto the membranes of the soul. Exciting are the energies of the flowing strongly through and with synchronized passions. The exotic and the erotic experience of inner peace, everlasting, lasting, and forever, closer and closer to love's bright lights, amplified every time. It's genuine. The poet is right.
Okay. Love it.
You like that one, Izzy? Izzy said you wrote a new piece and you didn't even tell
He didn't
me.
even
So.
share with me. I'm usually
Love it.
the first critique,
I know,
right?
right? Look. I'm thinking I'm grown now, sissy.
That's it. You don't need the old lady no more. You
Yeah,
done
never.
moved on.
Please, I can't breathe without you. Breathe again, breathe again.
That
Anyway,
Love
was
it.
let's have some fun.
beautiful.
Yay, let's do it. See,
Beautiful.
woman power in here tonight. No pun
Yes.
Yes,
intended. And Rashid, we love you all to pieces. But it's
right.
so,
Yes.
I know. Look at it.
Jasmine says beautiful from our Zoom room. Chris says beautiful.
Thank you,
Great.
everybody. I was a little
You
nervous
know,
about
guys,
that
I
one.
want to mention, I think we have our other show tonight that's coming on behind us,
Yes,
right?
yes, we
So
do.
I want to bring up and give you a
Forget about
couple more minutes, Monica, to talk
7
about your
minutes.
other book. Can you guys see that?
Wow.
It's a book of
Yes.
affirmations, my positive affirmation journal. And ladies, I did not have a chance to give you this one because I think this one is right hot off the press, right, Monica?
It is. It is.
It
It
is.
was is newly released and you got it before I did. So yes. Yes. It is hot off the press. I actually did a journal for men and women. And it just spoke to my soul. So thank you, Lori, just for all your support. So the positive affirmation journal is positive affirmations. It's about 31 of them. And then it also gives you a writing prompt because so many people love the writing prompts. And these books are also available on Amazon. So I actually have now 3 books in the pandemic and 2 more coming. And I'm just really excited about it. So it's really, one of those things where you pick up in the morning or you pick up in the night and just say out loud to yourself. And then from there, you have the opportunity to write. And I also gave a date and time because I think that that's important. And just knowing where you are in that space, a lot of times we don't know the growth that we've experienced until we go back and look at a journal that may be also a diary where you say, oh, at that time, that's how I felt and look at where I am now. Because I am not the person I was, a month ago or a year ago. I feel like I'm growing every day, whether it's intentional or unintentional, just by experiencing life and letting things occur. So yeah, so thank you, Lori. So I'm very excited about that. That book is also available on Amazon. So please follow me on Amazon. Again, it's Monica L. That's EL. And you'll always know when I'm producing new work. I'm also going to work on a college guide because I think that's so important for our community. And there's so many things that people don't know. And I've been afforded the opportunity to now be in a place where I can see some of the challenges. And we still do have first generational students. And sometimes their parents just don't have the skill set to help them, you know, um, navigate through that space in their time. And then lastly, I will be doing another poetry book for our younger sisters, and it will be definitely just for them about self-love and, how important it is to be in this space of developing and not adhere to peer pressure. So thank you, Lori. Thank you so much. Yes.
You, Monica, we appreciate you coming. Jasmine says in our Zoom room that she also um, provides affirmations. She says, I am worthy and I am enough are one of her affirmations that she practices. In this book, guys, there's great affirmations. One that definitely lands on me is life is full of lessons, not mistakes. We learn, we have grown to become our best selves, right? And Monica, you may have remembered this from many, many years ago with me being your counselor. I preach, we learn in the failure, right? We learn in the failure. If we're not failing at something, we're really not growing, right? And failure doesn't have to be catastrophic, but it's it's allowing yourself that space. And the writing prompt is, what lessons have you learned this season? And I think that is definitely speaks to all of us with this COVID season, right? What lessons have we learned and how are we planning to move forward, or how can we move forward? And we talk a lot about self-care. I'm telling you guys, this affirmation book right here will allow you to slow down and give yourself the attention to that self-care. So we have enjoyed you immensely, Monica.
I've enjoyed
Um,
this so much.
appreciate you coming. Definitely. You guys on Amazon, pick up your copy. Don't forget, Still a Lady. And then the brand new, hot off the press, My Positive Affirmations from Monica L.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I've really enjoyed this. Oh, go ahead, Jackie. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, 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 no. I was just going to say, wow, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I was just going to just put in there a little bit and saying thank you, Monica, for joining us here on the Poetry of Justice show with Jackie Ray Phillips on yikesradio.com and acceleratedradio.net. Monica, I know I want to hope that you just had a good time and liked it here with us tonight and come back again, particularly with my sisters, the ladies of the chat. And we have so much to be thankful for. Something that Lori and I always say is that time is the one thing we can't get back. Get money back, you can lose friends, you can get those back, Monica. But you can't get your time back. And so thank you so much for choosing to spend your time here in this is our Saturday night fun playhouse, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
So thank you so much for hanging out with Sissy, Shelly C, Tanya Michelle, Chris, Rashid, Jackie Ray P. This is just what we do. But one thing that I implore you to do, Monica, with all due respect, is tell everyone that you know about the Poetry of Justice show, because
Definitely
this
will.
is where social consciousness meets the arts. And again, we select topics that sparks the interest and awareness of social diversity to arts and entertainment. So what else
Yes.
do you need? So you got it all one stop shop. So we
Yes.
iron sharpens iron. So you tell everybody you know about us. We'll keep you in the light, and we just gonna make love and make it shine. Does that sound okay with you ladies tonight?
Oh, yes. Yes.
All
And
right.
we'd like to invite you back, Monica, to be a part of one of our panels. I mean, we talk about creative topics. We get a little heated there sometimes, huh, ladies? We've
I
got some
love it.
great things. So
I
to
would
be a
love
part
to
of
come
our
back.
panel,
Mhm.
great. That's good. Well, I
Yes.
will definitely be knocking on your door and extending that invitation.
Yes. I mean, this again was just a joy for me, just to be warm and welcome. And then also just to hear your honest responses, because, I don't always hear people's responses. I know my immediate circle, but this has just been a joy and a light. So, and just to hear the pieces that you enjoyed, that also pieces I enjoyed and how they touched to you, that means a lot to me. And you're going to inspire me to write more. So I really, really enjoy myself and just this invitation and sharing my light. Because, like you said, you can't pour from an empty cup. And, there's so much that we're dealing with. And I just think we need to surround ourselves with positivity, because it is difficult. Life is difficult, no matter what you look like or what your walk is, life is difficult. And we are valued and we are beautiful and we are beautiful light. So yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. I look forward to seeing everyone again, and I will definitely share.
Thank
All right,
you.
Lori G, you gonna embark this thing? What you gonna do, sissy? You gonna park it?
Well, I think that we got to land. Yep. We are out of our time. We got to go.
You
So,
look so cute,
um,
Chris. I just want to shout that out because you was in a box a minute ago. I just want to say you're looking all cute and stuff. Gonna come on after the fact. We finna roll, and then you gonna come on here acting crazy. I love
uh,
you.
I don't know. I just got home, so I was
I'm
like,
just
let
showing
me
out. I'm
just.
just showing out. Don't pay me no attention.
right. Well, thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Monica. Ladies of the chat, I love seeing you all the time. Thanks so much, guys. But we got to roll and get out of here. But we will be back next week. And we invite you all. We have a great show with a entertainment mogul.
The
Fats is
Fats, the
coming.
real
So
Fats from
the
Sacramento,
real Fats.
aka Derek. I ain't gonna put his whole government name out there, but this is gonna be a fly show. I want y'all to tune in. I can the two
Right.
ladies, so make sure you tune in.
All right, guys. So be blessed. Thank you so much. Good night.
Good night,
Bye.
Max Radio.